open. Welcome to the Home Downsizing Show. My name is Ben Souchek, your host and the owner and founder of Home Downsizing Solutions. With the Home Downsizing Show, I want to provide you the information and resources to make the downsizing of your house stress and hassle-free. So sit back and enjoy the show. Thank you for joining us. Good morning, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Ben Souchek with the Home Downsizing Show. Thank you for joining us. I really appreciate it. And today I have a great guest, Teressa Jordan with Care Matrix in Omaha. And just looking at your website, Teressa, the primary service you offer, or your phrase, I guess you might say, is senior housing experts. Thank you for joining me today, and welcome.
Well, thanks. And Ben, thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Absolutely. I guess the first question, who are you in general, and what is Care Matrix?
Well, who am I? That's a loaded question first thing in the morning, Ben. But I'm Teressa Jordan, and I am the owner and CEO of Care Matrix Senior Housing Experts, LLC. And a little bit about myself. So I'm a wife, I'm a mom, I'm a grandmother. I am a dog mom. I'm kind of crazy about dogs, love dogs. And my husband is a disabled vet. And what that started me on the journey with is I really understand what caregivers are going through on a day-to-day basis. Then there's just a plethora of emotions out there. And I was in corporate America for a long time, and I really wanted to start making an impact in the world versus focus on revenue all the time. And so I was lucky enough to start this business where we're really helping seniors connect to their quality life. Because what we're seeing out there is that seniors are, especially after COVID, are isolating, and they're staying at home, and that isolation is not good for them. And so we're able to partner with them to create that quality of life, whatever that looks like for them. So I'm sure you're going to ask me kind of what Care Matrix does, and I kind of just started going into that, but I'm going to just jump right in if you don't mind, Ben.
Absolutely. That was, you're reading my mind here this morning. That's my next question is, what is Care Matrix, and kind of your primary service that you would be able to help people with?
You bet. So Care Matrix, what we do is we help seniors and their families navigate the senior living landscape out there. So whether that's staying at home safely, all the way to independent assisted living, memory care, and sometimes rehab, and sometimes long-term care. And a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, you're like a real estate agent for assisted living communities. That is absolutely true. I don't represent a few. I'm looking at all of them as options. So Care Matrix, what we support mainly the Omaha area, which includes Council Bluffs, Fremont, Blair, Louisville, Plattsmouth, but we also go into Lincoln as well.
Very good. And that was going to be my follow-up question as far as what geographic areas do you serve? So you just touched upon that. Is there a typical client, or I guess the most common client that you would help, or what are maybe the 2 or 3 different types of individuals or families that you would typically work with, if that's the right question?
You bet. So there are primarily 2 that we see. And a lot of people are calling us because there's a crisis going on. They're no longer safe to be at home. There's been a hospitalization. They're in rehab. There's been a fall. There's been an elopement if there's dementia going on. There's a crisis going on. So we help those people and we can move extremely fast. The other one is people that are planning. They're like, you know what? We're not ready to move right now. We're not even ready to do anything. We don't even know if we're going to move. But let's have that plan in place as we progress down our journey, if you will. So we know that we're not when a crisis does hit, we're prepared.
Okay. I probably know the answer to this question, but is there a percentage of individuals that are in the planning stage, which I'm sure you'd like to see people at more so than versus the crisis mode that, okay, something has happened, I have to do something right now?
Great question. I will tell you, I would say 98% of our clients are in crisis mode. And I will tell you the one thing that COVID has done is I think people understand how we really have to be prepared. And so we are seeing people that are planning that number growing more and more. Because like I said, last year, if anything taught us, wow, we better have that plan in place.
Mm-hmm. And you've kind of mentioned this, I guess, just now, but are there 2 or 3 different things that will typically happen to the parent or to the senior? Maybe the family recognizes something, 2 or 3 different things that happen that cause a person kind of probably to force them from going to their home into a senior community of some type.
You bet. So some of those triggers that we see out there a lot that are saying, hey, you got to call Care Matrix. And I hate to say it, but the number one is a fall. Somebody falls, breaks a hip, breaks a shoulder, wrist, whatever. And they're in rehab. They have to go, to hospital, have surgery, and they're going to rehab. And usually when we fall, we just get a lot weaker because there's just not a lot of movement. And so a lot of times that's when assisted living is needed. And I'm going to preface that a lot of people think, oh man, I have to go into assisted living for the rest of my life. Not true. You can actually go into assisted living post rehab and stay until you get stronger. It's a really great, safe environment. And I wish people, more and more people would do that because it's great. The other thing is when dementia is there, doesn't matter what type of dementia you have. There are multiple types, hundreds of types. But what we see is caregiver burnout at that point in time. They just, there's a lot of guilt around caring for somebody that has dementia, and they really try to keep people at home as long as they can. And that caregiver just gets burnt out, or the caregiver gets hurt. And so then it becomes that crisis. A lot of times what we're seeing is just isolation. And, maybe, but what I mean by that is there's isolation, but a lot of times our families are not close by, and we don't have an infrastructure in place to support ourselves. And so that is a great time to go into assisted living. You don't have to go into assisted living and need a whole lot of care. You can be very independent in assisted living. Sometimes we just need the socialization because socialization is great for our soul, no matter what age you're at. Again, COVID taught us that, right? And so just having that socialization and not being isolated, because isolation creates a lot of depression and anxiety, which leads to other health issues. So sometimes people are calling us just because they need that infrastructure in place because family is not in town.
Mm-hmm. Okay. What are there specific resources that you provide or that other people provide or that you would like to see provided to the seniors or the families in those situations that once they realize they need to do something, to get them from their home to that transition, are there resources that you would like to see provided or that are helpful to the families in those situations?
So this is a great question, and Ben, I think we could almost talk. We could talk at least an hour on this part, right? Because every situation is so different, right? So the one thing I would say is, if they have a home, they need to call you, Ben, right? Because they need to understand what is going. What can you do for them as far as the home goes? You can make that process a lot easier. A lot of people, what I see in this day and age, they have a reverse mortgage. And I know that you can come in and help them with that and figure out what's the best option for them. A lot of people are like, oh, my house needs so much work, I'm not going to get anything for it. Well, you and I know that the market out there is a little different than that. And I know that, Ben, you can provide them an option to say, you know what, we can come in and do this and fix it or take it as is. So, Ben, first of all, I have to give you kudos, and that's why I love working with you, is because I know that you're a great resource for that. There are resources around, like I said, every individual's very different. And a lot of people think that you have to have all of this money to go into assisted living, and that is not the case. Most people are using their home, Ben, to pay for assisted living. And if that's the case, it's really critical that you call me, because it's special planning at that point in time. Most of us don't have endless amounts of money to pay for assisted living, especially at this stage in our life. So Medicaid, there's Medicaid planning out there. Sometimes we need hospice. Sometimes there's home health. You need some PT, OT. Sometimes if you're going to stay at home, or even if you're transitioning into a community, having that, what we call home care, which is non-medical, sometimes it's called private duty, out there to help along that way. There are so many resources out there that we can wrap around and make the transition very successful. And I'm not going to lie, this transition is not always easy, but we make it as easy as we possibly can. I'm going to add, what do I really wish that this community had, that the senior healthcare industry had? Ben, when I win the lottery, knock on wood, fingers crossed, saying a little prayer, when I win the lottery, I want more support for our veterans out there. Like I said, my veterans are near and dear to my heart. And I just think we need some more support and guidance for them. And I would love to serve that population as well.
Great. That's very informative. And thank you for the kind words. Yes, that's my primary business, is to make the transition from a person's house that they've been in a long time to a senior community as easy as possible by buying the house directly from them. And along with that, though, even though I've done this for 20 plus years, as we've talked before, I'm always looking to try and provide a better service to make that transition easier for people. And so thank you for that feedback. And that's the reason I asked that question, is that we do help provide anything that we can do to make that transition easier. And as a veteran, I share your concern and desire to help veterans more myself. So thank you for that.
And thank you for your service. I appreciate it.
Your husband's also. Thank you. Yeah. Let's see. Just looking at your website, there's a lot of great information on your website. Looking about the kind of the frequently asked questions, if I can say that properly, is why would a person want to call you versus trying to find a senior community on their own? Maybe they drive past one in their neighborhood and say, well, that would be convenient. Why would they want to call you for your assistance?
You bet. Well, first of all, I was probably negligent in at the very beginning of the show to say, first of all, we're a free resource. So you're not out anything. And the way that we get paid is we get a referral fee from the community when you move in. So first of all, you're not out anything and we're not pushy. We're here to have a great conversation about you and what your wishes are. And you're absolutely right, Ben. What happens is people tend to go to places around the corner from their house, the new glitzy, glamorous ones, or their friend's mom had been in some other community. And so they're like, that's the right community for me. That's not always the case. As stated several times during our conversation, everybody's situation is very unique to them. You have different health issues. You have different financial situations. You have urgency needs. Some people need something right now. Some people can wait a year. So what we do, Ben, is we do a really thorough intake to understand who you are and what your needs are. And we've been doing this for over 7 years. We're probably the longest standing company out there in the Omaha area. And so we have the experience and we know who's doing a good job and who's not. The other thing too is we go to all of the communities. We don't represent, like you said, just a handful. We represent all of them. We're looking at all of the options when we're creating that plan for you. The other thing is people don't think about tomorrow; they think about today. So just to give you an example of something that we really help with that people don't think about is if somebody has COPD, they may be doing fantastic right now. The odds are that with COPD, you will be on oxygen more and more and more as the disease state progresses. And so one of the things that we look at is, again, we don't look at today, we look at tomorrow. And is there a community that is maybe smaller to medium size? Is there an apartment that's closer to all of the activities, all the common spaces? So when you do start getting on that oxygen, that it's easy for you to navigate and you don't start isolating in assisted living. So it's those little things, that little gems, if you will, that we have gotten over our 7 years of experience that we bring to the table. We don't just say, hey, we think the one around the corner is great for you, because again, it may be, but it may not be. And so I'd rather have you talk to us and make sure you understand what all of your options are and get into the most appropriate community for you.
Mm-hmm. And things that I think a lot, well, my assumption is a lot of people don't think about would be that comes natural for you are all the questions that should be asked of the community to make sure that they're a good fit and that they're a safe community for your family member.
That's exactly right. I always use the example, and it tickles me because people walk in and they're like, oh my goodness, there's happy hour every Friday. There's ice cream machines and oh my gosh, a player piano. And all of those things are wonderful and they're marvelous, but it really boils down to care. And so you're absolutely right, Ben. Thank you so much for bringing that up, is that we really, when we go with people on tours, and we're your advocate on that tour. And so we're going to be asking questions about care and that you probably aren't thinking about. And so you have a lot of information when you leave to really make an informed decision. Mm-hmm. One other thing I'll say is our role is not to tell you what to do. Our role is here to support you. We look at providing you resources, options, and education. Those are our 3 roles. Again, not telling you what to do. It's your life, your options. We just want to make sure we're making that journey a little easier.
Sure. Well, thank you, Teresa, for all of that. I'm sure that our listeners and the people that are watching this will find everything very beneficial. Is there anything else, though, that any questions that I didn't ask, any information that we haven't covered that you think would be beneficial or that you really want to mention before we end the show today?
Yeah, I'm just going to reiterate, Ben, that we are free. So you're not out anything to have a conversation with us whatsoever. I own the company. We're not pushy. Actually, there's just me and my cohort. And we keep it very small because this is an intimate journey, and we want to make sure that we're keeping our process intimate for you. So call us. We'll bring over coffee and cookies, and we'll have that conversation. And please, people, I don't care if you're listening for yourself or for your parents, grandparents, or a loved one. Please plan. Please plan, have that plan in place. It's so important because you just never know when that crisis is going to hit. And it's so much easier to go through that crisis when you have that plan in place. Mm-hmm. And we can help with that. So that's what I'm going to end with.
Okay. Very good. And of course, where can people find you? I know that carematrix.net is your primary website, but where else can people find you?
You bet. So carematrix.net, and then phone number is 402-885-5693. I'll say that again. So as people are trying to write, 402-885-5693. It's also on the web. And email address is Teressa, and Teressa is TERESA @carematrix.net.
Very good. Well, thank you again, Teressa, for joining us here today. And if anyone has any additional questions for you, please go to carematrix.net or give Teressa a call, and we'll hope to see you next week. Thank you for joining us.
Ben, thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Home Downsizing Show. For additional information and resources on home downsizing, just go to homedownsizingblueprint.com. That's homedownsizingblueprint.com. Or if you're ready to sell your house and downsize, just go to homedownsizingsolutions.com. That's homedownsizingsolutions.com. And if you have ideas to improve our show or topics that you'd like us to cover, or have any questions that we can answer, just call our office toll free 855-291-5005. That's 855-291-5005. Thank you.